Every second water enters your home, the repair bill grows. When that first drop hits the floor, you need a budget, fast. The immediate reflex is to search for California's average roof repair costs. But that returns a massive, conflicting range of numbers that tells you absolutely nothing about your actual house. That water stain expanding on your living room ceiling is deceptive. It confirms you have a leak, but it says almost nothing about the true cost to fix it. Gravity pulls water along rafters and underlayment before it finally breaches your drywall. The true failure point on the roof is often several feet uphill from where you see the drip inside. You face a direct trade-off. Pay a low fee for a surface patch that cracks and leaks by next winter, or pay more upfront for a technician to remove materials, trace the water path, and replace the compromised layers. To budget correctly, you have to ignore statewide averages. You need a localized framework based squarely on the actual symptoms occurring on your roof. That is exactly why we use the Santa Clarita Roof Repair Budget Blueprint. It gives you a clear financial forecast before you even call a contractor. By analyzing the severity of the damage you can actually see, we can map your problem against realistic local pricing baselines. This scatter plot shows how identical ceiling stains result in wildly different bills. One traces to a $500 missing shingle, another to a $2,000 membrane failure. Watch how this pricing data naturally settles into three distinct, predictable diagnostic tiers. Categorizing your repair into one of these tiers removes the anxiety of the unknown. It sets a clear financial boundary so you never overpay for minor work. Tier 1 covers small, isolated problems. Think of a single cracked shingle, a tiny gap in a vent seal, or a straightforward flashing fix. For these quick, limited repairs, you should plan on a budget between $450 and $900. Tier 2 applies when a leak is active, but the source is hidden. The crew has to actively trace the water path and rebuild the waterproof barrier underneath. Replacing saturated underlayment requires heavy labor. That pushes the typical Tier 2 budget into the $900 to $1,800 range. Tier 3 requires complex interventions. This tier addresses widespread flat roof separation, hidden wood rot, or the need to reset large sections of a tile roof. Ranging from $1,800 to well over $3,500, Tier 3 work is a structural correction necessary to prevent catastrophic indoor mold and drywall collapse. This table breaks down exactly where your symptoms fall, but symptom severity is only the baseline. The physical material sitting on top of your roof acts as the final cost multiplier. Standard asphalt shingles carry the lowest labor demands, which generally keeps your total costs near the bottom of your designated budget tier. Shingle repairs only spike in price if the roof slope is dangerously steep, or if the asphalt is so aged and brittle that surrounding shingles tear during removal. Santa Clarita relies heavily on tile roofs. They look great, but they demand a premium labor rate for any kind of functional preservation. A technician has to delicately extract heavy, fragile tile materials without cracking the tightly interlocked pieces around them. Flat and low-slope roofs present a completely different challenge. They carry the highest risk for hidden moisture expansion. Look at this cross-section of a flat roof. Water enters a small puncture, but pools and travels laterally beneath the membrane, saturating insulation far away from the original entry point. Because of this labor intensity, a simple flashing gap on a shingle roof might be a cheap Tier 1 fix. That same gap under a fragile tile roof almost always escalates into a Tier 2 project. There are logistical variables that will also stretch your budget. If you call after hours, on a weekend, or during an active rainstorm, you will pay an emergency response premium. That premium buys immediate stabilization, like heavy tarping and water diversion. You pay to protect the interior first and pay for the permanent repair later. When it comes to handing over cash, California law is strict. The contractor's state license board caps home improvement down payments at 10% of the contract price, or $1,000, whichever is less. Local rules impact your timeline. City permits for larger jobs and Santa Clarita HOA approvals for visible tile color matching can push your start date back. State regulations will protect your upfront cash, but holding off on an emergency call guarantees that trapped moisture will rot your wood and quietly consume your savings. You need to know exactly when sinking cash into another patch becomes a bad financial investment. This scorecard outlines failure conditions, new leaks after every storm, unmatchable obsolete materials, and spongy, widespread decking damage beneath the surface. Once those boxes are checked and the repair estimate approaches a massive percentage of a total replacement cost, the existing system is dead. Recognizing this threshold stops you from wasting thousands of dollars to temporarily bandage a failing roof. You now have the blueprint. You can look at your leak, account for the roofing material above it, and accurately lock in your expected budget tier. Waiting for the next storm guarantees escalating costs. Water intrusion does not pause or reverse itself. Delaying a professional inspection ensures that unseen moisture silently and continuously rots the structural timber holding up your attic. Bring out a technician to pinpoint the failure. Contact Roof Repair Santa Clarita today for a transparent diagnostic inspection. Getting a precise assessment right now is the only guaranteed way to stop the leak, protect your property, and secure your financial budget.